It is the start of a new LCS split, and with that comes power rankings. What teams are going to be the best in the LCS this year? And I'm not doing that regular season bullcrap that teams do. No, these are the official end of season standings that I think we're going to end up at. Now, before I continue, really quick, if you live in New York City and you enjoy the LCS, luckily for you, we watch the LCS in person here at Brookland this Friday. Golden Guardians is helping us sponsor a LCS watch party. We have a Golden Guardians jersey to give away and some extra swag from them. In addition to that, we're going to be watching all the games, including TSM versus Cloud9, one of the final two matchups between the two in the regular season at least. I'm excited. I'll be there. I hope to see you there as well. Be sure to come in, grab some chicken tenders. They are great there, and some drinks. It's a fun time all around. Brookland is a great spot to be, and it's a great spot to watch League of Legends at the bar. Welcome to Lincoln Center, my favorite spot in all of New York City, to talk about my favorite thing, which is the LCS at the beginning of the split, when everybody's hopeful, except for Immortals. Look, it makes me sad as a longtime Kenvi fan, not as like a personal Kenvi fan, but just I wanted him to do well ever since he was on 100 Thieves. And to see him now for what's going to likely be 3 splits in a row, not doing all that well due to likely stage fright, because we know he has the hands for it. He's just never been able to put up. So this kind of sucks to say, and it's a little bit painful, but Immortals I don't really see doing too much. Balulu, sure, he's got interesting picks with the Zoe. I think Solo's on this roster now. I don't even remember who their bot lane is at this point. Is it still tactical? I don't know. Point is, they're getting 10th regardless. I feel bad that I don't even know the full roster at the moment, which I should probably look up on prior to starting the LCS split soon, but yeah, they're 10th. Again, I'm not a journalist. I'm not a reporter of anything. Don't take anything I say as news. I just get the feeling that this is like Immortals' last split in the LCS. It feels like that way for like the bottom half of teams here. I'd be shocked if half of them return, but for Immortals to go out the way that they're going out, it just, you hate to see it. At number 9, also the end of an era, and really sad to say, is going to be TSM. I truly do want the best for Wild Turtle and Hauntzer as they officially end their tenure with TSM, going out on this glory ride, and I hope that they can ride that into the sun. But if we're being completely honest, mid and jungle's a bit of a problem for them. Boogie and Blue? Yeah, just checked, it's Ruby. There's no world where they compete at a high level. I mean, again, 8 teams get in the playoffs, so only 2 people are going to be missing here. And I feel bad saying that they're going to be one of them, but I don't see the upside or positives with this roster whatsoever. Unlike Dignitas, who I got 1 spot higher, at least making it to playoffs in 8th, I think Santorin and Jensen need to step up massively. But hey, at the end of the day, we know that they can, especially in summer when the 2 of them seem to, I don't know, do decently well. Tomio's a pretty good bot laner who we saw a lot of progress with towards the end of last year. So hey, you know what? That's something to build on. And the top lane remains the big question mark. Our mood is gone, and Rich is in, and I believe he was a Heroes of the Storm player, so maybe. Here's the thing with Dig. I don't want Dig to succeed because of Dig. I want Dig to succeed because they're a client of Sylvix. Sylvix is a friend of mine, so understandably, I want to see them do somewhat decent so that they get more content and more games to play, so that Sylvix gets business. So sure, if you haven't picked up already, my personal bias is going to be drastically different than what's actually going to happen both on and off the Rift. These are just my personal power rankings. If you have a problem with that, you're going to have to look elsewhere. Number 7 shouldn't surprise people, I don't think, except for the one caller on Hotline League that said that Pyosik was going to be like MVP or first All-Pro or something in this split. No. Like, by all means, I want to see Harry and Yeon specifically play incredibly well, but I don't know if a coaching change is going to solve some of the issues that clearly exist between CoreJJ and Pyosik and Summit in terms of their timing together. Like, they just, every time they go into a fight, it just seems disjointed. Somebody ints early on, typically Pyosik. So do I have faith that they're ultimately going to come around and make top 4 and go to Worlds? No, not at all. But I wouldn't be surprised if they pop off and maybe do something in the later half of the split. Look, the only thing that I am like confident on in my entire power rankings this split are the bottom two and the top two. Like, I feel very confident in saying that both Immortals and TSM are probably going to be bottom two. You could throw Dignitas into that group. It's like the bottom three kind of slugging it out. And then from there, it's kind of a crapshoot until you hit the top two, which not much of a spoiler there for most people. If you expected anything different from me, I don't know what to tell you unless biased, but I'll give you the hint. It's not biased already. At number 6, this is going to make some people very angry, and I know I just said that they're sponsoring our watch party this upcoming weekend, and I kind of feel bad saying this here in the same video, but at the same time, I got to be honest with my rankings here. I do think that Golden Guardians is heading for a pretty severe drop-off in summer. The post-MSI burnout is a very real thing, and it's not like I think that they're going to come out the gate slow. Quite frankly, I think they're still going to perform incredibly well. It's the MSI, it's the post-MSI hangover because you burn out really badly at the end and just have nothing left in the tank. So honestly, what I think is going to happen is that Golden Guardians is going to have a decent regular season. They're probably going to finish like anywhere between 3rd to 7th or 8th, but I think it's going to start off hot and then quickly decline at the very end to the point where they get to playoffs, and assuming they're an upper bracket, they're going to lose in the first round to whoever's above them. And then I think they just get beat in the lower bracket. I mean, think about this. They were close to losing to 100 Thieves, the team that everybody wanted to bust on because, oh, they only play one style and it's not very creative and it was barely a strategy at best. Well, you know what? Golden Guardians was still only one game away from losing to that. So yeah, I've seen a clear pathway where Golden Guardians can drop down, and I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that that is going to happen, and that Golden Guardians is going to unfortunately miss Worlds. They already talked about burnout a little bit at the end of MSI, so it shouldn't be all that surprising if this does happen. On top of that, I don't think Licorice is going to be able to play the counter picks that he did in playoffs the same way in the regular season and just in summer in general. I think this is one of those that this team got hot at the right time in playoffs and just had a little bit of magic behind them, and that stuff happens from time to time, and it's good. It's a great storyline to follow, especially going into MSI where they looked arguably better than Cloud9 on the international stage. But international performance doesn't always lead to domestic performance, and I think they're going to just have a drop-off, most notably in bot lane. I don't think Stixxay is going to be able to play the same way that he did at the end of spring. Gory and River are going to be the thing that carries this roster continuously if they continue to go on, to be very clear. And I am expecting a world where that happens early on, just not so much later. Rounding out the bottom 5 is an organization that people are going to hate on a lot this split for very unfair reasons. Look, NRG wanted to get into League of Legends for a while now, and they finally did. I'm sorry it came at the cost of your CLG brand, and people wanted to flame the absolute crap out of the roster decision that was picking up FBI and Ignar. Ignar, sure, I understand a little bit, but FBI, he was one of the better ADCs in the league last split, especially whenever Luger looked like he lost his hands in playoffs. So I don't know why people are flaming that, and also it's still the same management of the League of Legends program that they picked up. So why people are like overly mad at NRG is beyond me. And it's going to make them even more mad whenever this roster performs almost identical to what it did last split, and people are going to be like, oh, and people ruined the CLG brand just to finish 6th. Well, guess what? That's literally what happened last year and in spring as well when they got 3-0'd in the lower bracket. Like, nothing's changing here, just the name. So people can get all bent out of shape all they want. At the end of the day, NRG still finishing 6th. I think that's a good core to build around. I think Palafox is still a great mid laner and it has the potential to once again get all-pro, even though he got snubbed of it. In spring, he's all-pro in my eyes and in my vote. But yeah, beyond that, I do think Contracts and Dokla have kind of hit their ceiling. I don't think they're going to be able to reach that next threshold that's required to, quite frankly, make it to the arena. I just don't, and it sucks to see because, you know, Dokla, former Greenwall alum, it is what it is, but I'm not sold on it. Sorry. I think a lot of people are going to call me crazy for my top 4, and hey, that's perfectly fine. I make bold predictions for a reason, and it is what it is. But my number 4 team is Evil Geniuses. I think people are heavily sleeping on the fact that Jojopyun and Unforgiven can absolutely carry this roster to Worlds. Yes, there is a big question mark in both jungle and support with Griggs / Sheldon splitting time, or Sheldon, I'm not sure how you say his name. and then Ayla. But I do think Ayla was also a byproduct of, quite frankly, just going into a system where maybe he just didn't mesh well. Like, I would have loved to see him on TL over Core JJ, if I'm being honest, and keep playing with Yeon. But look, he's getting a new chance on a new team with a really good ADC and Unforgiven. Maybe the style will mesh a little bit better with them. And quite frankly, I just think that this roster is just being slept on so heavily. Like like I said earlier, the whole slew between like 6th and 3rd is kind of a mismatch of whoever people want to put in and whatever logic you want to use to get there. I just think that there's going to be a clear world where Jojopyun cleans up some of the ends from spring. Unforgiven plays well. Revenge is finally off of Immortals and actually able to play on a team that hopefully encourages him to play better, because hey, even like decent players or people that are seen as decent players like Revenge, once they get on a good team, they elevate their level. And I clearly think that that's what's going to happen with him. So honestly, I like truly believe this EG squad is going to be a good representative for us to go against whoever we play from Europe in that 4C qualifier to Worlds. And Jojopyun has already proven himself. He already did it last year when they knocked out Mad Lions. So yeah, I have faith that he'll do it again. It's just funny because I know so many people are going to be rooting against them, at least on Twitter. It seems like people are just really on like the anti-EG train after everything that's gone on with the whole Danny situation and everything else. Like, yeah, it's going to be hard to root for the organization for some people. But these players, if they get rolling, are going to be easy to root for. Sure, they could finish 7th and bomb out, but I do think 4th is actually where they're going to land. Regular season might be a little bit lower, but playoffs-wise, I have a good feeling about these guys for whatever reason. But not as good as my number 3. You have no idea how hard it is to not just meme this and say, you know what? They're going to win because Doublelift hasn't lost a summer split in God knows how long. But I need to be honest. I still have them going to Worlds, okay? Like, I'm still on that hype train. And I do think Busio is going to improve. I think Someday is going to be a good fit for whenever Quid does finally arrive. And Closer, I pray to God, spent the offseason just, you know, learning more champions. Honestly, though, the biggest difference in this roster, I do think, is going to be Kane. Having a solid coaching staff that can bring out the best in Busio, that can bring out the best in Closer, and Quid as well, is just going to be important. Because we know Doublelift and Someday are going to be the rocks of this team that will be solid all the way through. It's the other 3 pieces that I'm going to be looking at to really step up and perform at a very high level in order to carry us. If everything meshes well, if everything like aligns perfectly in my head, yes, this roster can actually contend in New Jersey. I don't care how much I'm going to get memed on for people thinking that. I legitimately do think that could be the case, especially if Busio continues to level up, because in this meta where ADCs and supports and bot lane in general just control the game, I really do think it's going to be important for them to start winning lanes pretty consistently. And if they want to step up against the likes of FlyQuest or C9, it needs to come from them, and then Closer and everybody else just needs to do their job, because the bot lanes of these top 3 teams, in my opinion, are absolutely stacked. So yeah, 3rd for 100 Thieves, going to Worlds, praying to God they already have a design already for a Worlds jersey. We'll see. Look, I know a lot of people are going to call me out on this pick if time goes on for saying, oh, you're just picking this to be edgy. No, I'm actually picking this because I genuinely believe it. I do think that Cloud9 is going to finish 2nd in the summer split. I don't know if sneezing is a good sign or a bad sign of what I just said. But look, I used the caveat earlier that international play isn't all, international success doesn't always lead to domestic success, but international failure can also lead to domestic failure. And I think when you're looking at this Cloud9 roster, it's the exact same as last split. Vulcan is a weak point if you can exploit him, and you need somebody that can do that. On FlyQuest, unfortunately, they just didn't have anything last split. Winsome and Ayla didn't work out, and you weren't able to pair anybody with Prince to really get him ahead and let him carry these games in the same way that Sven and Berserker were able to. Fudge is still a rock in the top lane, but I do ultimately think that Someday an Impact can mitigate him if you want to make this a fully bot lane centric jungle. Blabber versus Spica or Blabber versus Closer, like, yeah, Blabber definitely has the edge. I'm not going to take away from that. He's easily the best jungler in North America at the moment. No denying that. I just think that having a bot lane meta is going to favor one team versus another, and it's unfortunately at the moment not going to be Cloud9. in mid lane on top of that, I do think Eminence is going to fall off a bit. We saw a little bit of that towards the end of spring and definitely at World or MSI at points. So yeah, even though I voted him first All-Pro team, I do think he's going to fall off a little bit, and I do think it's going to open the door for FlyQuest to be my number one team. I think Vulcan joining this team just levels them up to a whole other degree that hopefully should be able to unlock this bot lane to just take over. Vikla is the only question mark I have in my mind. He needs to step up, and I have faith that hopefully they can do that. If Vikla can perform at least at the same level as MNS, I fully believe that FlyQuest can beat Cloud9. I do think it's going to be the two of them in finals, to be clear. I don't think it's going to be anybody else but them. I don't think we're going to have any upsets, no like internal sabotaging of either of these two teams down the end of the line. But yes. So my camera kind of died at the end there, but look, I pretty much said everything I need to say other than just reiterating, yes, I do believe FlyQuest is going to win it all. I believe 100 Thieves and EG are going to be the two teams that round it out. And I might be delusional and I might be eating spicy wings at the end of the split to pay that back if my fantasy bets based on this power ranking don't work out. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's all fun and games, and I can't wait to enjoy the ride. Hope you all enjoyed the video and hope you all enjoy the games later today. Let's go 100 Thieves.